All right, everyone, welcome. My name is Phil Rowley, and I'm today down in Roseburg, Oregon, touring through the Spirit River facility. Wonderful place, kind of a candy store if you're into fly tying like I am. I'm going to tell you one of my favorite still water fly patterns. This is a Carey special, using blended in with the new UV2 materials. And these UV materials, trout can see into that UV spectrum. We can't, they can. And this is often used as a sort of key trigger to whether or not they'll take the fly or make our flies stand out and have the same UV signature as many of the natural food sources they feed on. Now, the Carey Special is just a good attractor fly. It's got buggy, scruffy, suggestive, and it's probably best known as a dragonfly nymph. So if you're down in this area and you want to go fish a lake like Diamond Lake, for example, which is known for its dragonfly nymphs, this is a fly you might want to have in your fly box before you get on the water. So I've got a number 8. 3 extra long hook in the vise here, and it's a pretty simple fly. We're going to just tie in a tail, dub a body, and put a hackle on it. So here we go. So first step, let's get that good thread base on there. Start at the just behind the eye of the hook. Take out our scissors, trim off the excess, and then carry down. And the color combinations with this fly are endless. I'm going to make mine a big fan of olive and sort of a burnt orange. So we're going to use some guinea. I love the mottled look that guinea fibers give, so we're just going to take the guinea fibers, pull them down perpendicular to the stem, see how the tips even up nicely, and just gently pull them off the stem. And we're going to tie in a tail that's about half the shank length long. So just over the top, a couple of loose wraps, make sure our tail's the length we want it, half the shank length. Close enough, we're good. And then just continue securing the material up the shank all the way along. We have a nice firm tie-in and everything's, whoops, nice and even. That's good pulling. Alright, now we're just going to take my tying thread about halfway back, and we're going to form a dubbing loop. Just getting my dubbing tool here, there's lots of them out there. I'm just going to use the cowbird style. Pull down, about 4 inches of tying thread, come back up, and then rotate the thread loop up to the top. We'll put our dubbing tool in there and let hang, and then come all the way up. And I do my soft hackle type flies a little differently. Most people tie in their hackle at the end of the fly. I'm actually going to take mine, prepare the feather in some of this UV2 guinea fowl and orange, and I'm going to tie it in now so I have a good firm tie-in, and I'm not trying to get my soft hackle feather tied in place right at the head of the fly. Well, there's not a lot of space to tie things in, and it often pulls out. And I want to make sure you can see here the convex, the curved side of the feather. Often in some feathers the most prominently colored side is facing forward, so when I wind this it's going to flow back and sweep into place. For the body, I'm going to use some of the really good looking UV2 scud shrimp olive. Nice scruffy dubbing, that's what we want, nice translucent. So we're just going to pull some out of the package, kind of massage it up a little bit, and then I'm just going to open the loop at the bottom, insert, and slide up into position. And just continue to do this. It's always easy. I find it easier, I'm not using dubbing wax, just to pull down slightly, using thread tension to hold the materials in place, open the loop at the bottom, slide it up into position. That way you're not opening the loop at the top and having the application before that fall out and get all frustrated. And I don't like to use the dubbing wax because the thread tension holds it, and we're trying to get translucence here, and I just worry sometimes that that dubbing wax will mat the fibers down and kill the translucency we're trying to get. So we start twisting, 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 and when those fibers radiate out about 90 degrees like they are now, we're ready to wrap forward. And if there's any clumps, we're trying to make this as even as possible. I got a few spots that the dubbing isn't as thick as it can be, but overall nice even loop, and then we just rotate this up and we start winding the dubbing noodle forward. And you want to keep things kind of skinny. want to overdress our flies. If you tie stillwater flies, you want mobile materials, but you don't want them big, fat, and bulky. So, believe it or not, dragonfly nymphs, as large as they get, are still relatively skinny overall. So tie that off. We don't want to crowd our head area. Carefully get in there and trim off our dubbing leader. We can take a bit of Velcro at this point, and we can further roughen the dubbing. This builds a translucency to it, and get that nice look of sort of dimension to the body, and just brush that out. It just adds life to the fly. And then we're going to dig out a pair of hackle pliers here. If I can find them, because I should be prepared. And we're just going to, when I'm doing hackles, whether it's dry or wet, I like to take an initial half turn with the feather. I'll remove my hand and explain a little bit better. What I've done is positioned it to make sure that the feather is perpendicular to the hook shank, so with each wrap there's no twist in. I've got that positioned, I've gripped it by the tip, and now we're just going to come up and sweep and pull those fibers back. And we don't want to overdress this fly too much. 2 turns should be fine, 2 full turns. Usually on these feathers like guinea and pheasant rump, things like that, the length of the feather keeps you honest and limits you, because you can only get so many turns out of them. And then we're just going to come in, nip the tip off, make sure everything's good, like that. Another trick you can do is you can take a toothbrush sometimes and just brush the fibers. These are broken apart pretty well, and just break the little teeth that hold all the fibers together. And then we're just going to moisten my fingers, kind of pull everything back, and just start building a neat tapered head. Fold those materials back, and then whip finish. Whoops. Whip finish. Again, we can hold those fibers back out of the way. Trim. And then you can also train these fibers a little bit by just pulling everything back, giving it a couple of pinches, and you see how everything just flows beautifully along there. And that's got some great contrast when you're exploring lakes and you're just casting and retrieving. This is a fly you'd use, depending on the depth, anywhere. I like to use slow sinking lines, so clear intermediate line, like a Camel Lux or something like that. Cast, let it sink 10-20 seconds, and use a variety of hand twists or strips and cover water. And this contrast of this burnt orange, or this orange and olive, is an excellent still water color combination. So think about adding some of those to your still water fly box wherever you go. It's a great suggestive pattern, and it also represents small immature dragonfly nymphs. So thanks for watching. Remember to use those UV2 materials, they're great.